Something massive is brewing in Nepal. We're talking about a political crisis that is absolutely boiling over, and it's being driven by one of the most unlikely alliances you could ever imagine. You've got a digital-first Gen Z movement teaming up with a populist, royalist firebrand. And believe me, this isn't just another protest. It's shaping up to be a fight for the very soul of the nation.
And get this, those aren't my words. That's the movement's own mission statement. They're calling it Uprising 2.0, and they're framing it as nothing less than a second great people's movement, a total reset for the nation. The stakes here are incredibly high, and as you can tell, the rhetoric is even higher.
So it's all coming to a head on one single critical date, Mangsir 7 on the Nepali calendar. The organizers have put a stake in the ground, marking this day for a huge nationwide event that they believe is going to change the course of the country's history.
And that date, November 22nd, is when this alliance is calling for a complete and total nationwide shutdown. Now, their goal isn't just to tweak a few policies or get a new minister. No, they want to force a fundamental overhaul of Nepal's entire political system. They want to hit the reset button.
Okay, so how on earth did we get here? To really get it, you have to understand the two very different forces that have somehow come together to make this happen. It's this wild fusion of digital-savvy youth activists and a more old-school populist movement that's got a lot of love for the old monarchy.
And this really lays out just how strange this partnership is. On one side, you have Gen Z monarch Nepal. Their fuel is digital rage over things like censorship, and their demands are super modern. Youth quotas in government, e-voting for Nepalese living abroad. Then, on the other side, you've got Durga Prasai. He's this populist leader channeling a totally different energy, royalist fire. He's talking about huge loan waivers and restoring Nepal as a Hindu state. I mean, these two groups seem like they're from different planets, but somehow they've found common ground.
So what do you call this? They're calling it diffused movement. And it's a perfect name, really. It's combining the massive numbers and the online organizing power of the youth with the money and the on-the-ground network of precise followers. They think that together, they're an unstoppable political storm.
So what was the spark that lit this powder keg? This whole thing didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It's the direct result of an earlier uprising and what the protesters see as a deep, profound betrayal by the government.
And you just have to look at the timeline to see how fast this all went down. It all kicked off in September when a youth protest against social media bans turned deadly. 74 people were killed. By October, fed up with the government's inaction, this new, strange alliance formed. On November 12th, they officially submitted their list of demands, and just one day later, the government flat out said no.
And that rejection, that was the final straw. The government's refusal to seriously investigate the 74 deaths, combined with the Home Minister basically calling their demands unconstitutional, was seen as the ultimate slap in the face. It pretty much guaranteed that we were going to see a round two, only this time much bigger and way more organized.
All right, so what is it they actually want? What's the master plan? Well, their combined list of demands is this 42-point blueprint for a completely new Nepal. We can really break it all down into a few key themes.
First up, and this is the big one, a total political reset. They are not interested in just shuffling some ministers around. They want to tear down the entire system as it exists today and rebuild it from scratch.
And when I say they want to tear it down, I mean it. Their political demands are radical. First, scrap the entire 2015 Constitution. Gone. Then, hold a referendum to ask the people if they want to bring back a constitutional monarchy. They also want a directly elected prime minister so they can get rid of all the chaotic coalition politics. And they're demanding global e-voting rights for the millions of Nepalis living overseas. This is a complete reimagining of how power should work in that country.
Okay, so that's the politics. The other huge piece of this puzzle is economic justice. And this is where that populist appeal really kicks into high gear, targeting the very real financial struggles of everyday people in Nepal. And right at the heart of their economic plan is this huge number, a demand for loan waivers up to 2 million Nepali rupees for poor families. For hundreds of thousands of people struggling with debt, that is a life-changing amount of money. It's an incredibly powerful thing to rally around.
But it definitely doesn't stop there.
They also want collateral-free loans for migrant workers so they can come home and start businesses. They want to wipe the slate clean for 600,000 people who are on loan blacklists. They want better funding for local universities to stop the massive brain drain of young talent leaving the country. They're even calling to scrap the whole 7-province federal system, arguing it's just inefficient and wasteful. And, of course, they want to mandate youth quotas in government to give the next generation a real seat at the table.
So you add all this up, and it's clear that Nepal is standing at a massive crossroads. The outcome of this whole uprising could send the nation down one of two profoundly, and I mean profoundly, different paths.
And really, there are two starkly different futures on the table here. If the uprising actually succeeds, you could see a brand new constitution written by the middle of 2026, maybe even an economic boom, and a major shift in Nepal's relationships with other countries. But if it fails, this whole alliance could just splinter apart, leading to more chaos, possibly even bloodier clashes on the streets, and just a continuation of the same political instability that's held the country back for so long.
So, that's the ultimate question, isn't it? Is this Mangsir 7 uprising the spark of a revolution that could actually rebuild the nation, or is it a massive gamble that could push it right into ruin? I guess the whole world is going to be watching on November 22nd to find out.